Susan Gilbert, so good to be here with you. Hello.
So good to be here with you,
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
I want to learn about what you do, who you work with, the kind of work you do, as well as why you do it. So why don't we start here? Could you tell us just a little bit about what you do?
I work with successful entrepreneurs who want to write, publish, and market their wisdom and get their message out into the world to make a bigger impact and to have more influence. What I like to think about is that the reason is because we only get one ride on this planet, and we might as well make it a great one.
Yeah. When you say write and publish their wisdom, what does that look like? What do you mean by that?
Sometimes the people who come to me have a specific work in the world that they've been doing for 20 years, 30 years. They've got it down pat, but they've never published it on a website. They've never published it in a book. And so what we do is we create what we think of as a personal brand for that person and what they stand for. And the best vehicle over and beyond the digital marketing side of a website and social media to get a message out is with a book and to publish. And it can be published digitally, it can be published in print. And then there are people that just have something inside themselves that's always wanted to come forth, something new. And so that is a message that we work on developing and then launching out into a branded platform of whatever is appropriate for that person.
Now, I know you have a lot of experience. You've been doing this work for a long time. So tell us just a little bit about how long you've been doing it and kind of the different, give us a little bit more. So I know there's the book side of helping them craft the book, get it out into the world. I believe there's also a kind of digital agency side or social media website side. How long have you been doing this? Kind of what's your background and how does it influence what you're doing now?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 28 years old.
Yeah.
And I am definitely in the senior citizen zone now. So entrepreneurism is in my blood and has evolved in many different ways.
Yeah.
But to address just more specifically what I'm doing today, because all of those things, of course, come forward in my experience and they all get utilized. But in late 1990s, early 2000, I published a gift book. I self-published back when like people didn't self-publish then, and then to do a gift book, which is 4-color, hardback, dust jacket embossed. It was just a crazy experience, and I'd never done publishing. So, you know, again, as an entrepreneur, I've kind of moved from one thing to another. And that was really also back when nobody had personal websites anymore. So between the launch of that book, The Land of I Can, and how well it was received, and it had a life of its own.
Yeah.
And the website that I had, it garnered far more legs, so to speak, than what I ever would have imagined. And so people would come to me and say, can you help me do that? And that's really the essence of where that was born. And then it's developed because when I started this, on my website, susangilbert.com, and the copyright goes all the way back to 2001 because I was blogging back in 2001, and that was pre-social media, which was 2005 or so. So my work has evolved as the digital world has evolved, but it's all been based on a message, because I learned that the message of The Land of I Can, which was really about hope, had so much more to offer, but we never know until we get that message out into the world what's going to happen.
Right.
And that's where the magic is.
Now, you said something about it ended up having 4 legs. What do you mean by that? Just share a little bit more about this, because I think your own story is something I've seen you replicate with the people you've worked with.
Absolutely. Well, we start with the personal brand, what we think it is. Now, for me, this was the Land If I Can was just an idea that came to me when I was driving from a conference in Palm Springs back to San Diego where I was living. And I scribbled down when I got home, what that was without realizing that it was pretty complete. So messaging and getting ideas out into a marketable form happen a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But for the Land If I Can, I thought that it would be a gift book that women would buy for themselves and gift to other people. So that was one leg, and that was a true leg.
Yep.
And that gift book, I was able to get into traditional bookstores, into Hallmark and gift stores. So it had multiple ways that it was being distributed. Yep. Then I started hearing from companies that were buying cases for their realtors to give to their real estate agents to empower them to take one step and move forward. I got a phone call from Borders Bookstore at the time who ordered 250 copies for the San Diego Unified School District. And it turned out that the woman who headed that district was a woman who had received a copy of the book and wanted to gift it out to each of the school principals that year. There were 250 schools.
Yeah.
Then those principals took it back into the schools, and the schools started ordering the books for character development. So the book had many different legs. Those are kind of like the 4 primary legs. But when I wrote it, I only saw one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I stayed on vision with that one. I can remember back then having a little sticky on my computer that says, I am a messenger and I'm willing to deliver the message, which really, again, comes forward to what I'm doing today with Messengers on a Mission, because it really starts with that vision and that message.
Well, tell us a little bit about Messengers on a Mission, because I know you talk about destiny is one of the things you talk about. And it sounded like, the way I hear it is that the Land If I Can had a destiny. It had a life of its own, and you could see a part of it, but there's parts of it that it had a life of you weren't even aware of when it came through.
Absolutely. And that's like the magic that I mentioned. It's like you just don't know. We talk about vibrational levels, in the coaching, but you never know what that vibration is going to resonate with out into the world until you birth it, until you release it.
Yeah. And that's the tricky part, right? That's the trust of, I am here to deliver this message, and I'm not probably going to be aware of exactly where this message is meant to go, or how it's going to be received, or who's going to receive it, and who's going to grow it, and who's going to amplify it, and who's going to share it with others. What motivates you about doing all this? Why do you do it? Why does this work matter to you? Because you've been successful in a lot of different entrepreneurial ventures. So I know you have the chops to be successful at probably anything you set your mind to. Why this?
Well, there's a couple things, Jeffrey. One of them is, as you mentioned, I've had many different successful careers. One of them in microcomputers way back when, started coffee shops before people knew who Starbucks was. So I love to do something new and innovative. And when I jumped from coffee shops to publishing and into self-publishing, that was extremely innovative and new. And so there's that creative side of me that loves to envision and develop and take on a marketing life to success. Mm-hmm. But if I kept doing it for myself all day long, I would probably have 20 different careers. And the fun thing for me is that when I'm doing it for someone else, that feeds me, because it feeds my creativity to be able to innovate and envision for that person that I'm working for, and then bring what I find so fulfilling, as in the example we were just discussing around the Land If I Can, that I get to experience that with the person that I'm working with, and see how they feel and who they become as a result of it. And it's absolutely my destiny and my life's work.
Share, if you could, an example or two of folks you've worked with who had a message and how you supported them and what occurred, what happened working together?
One of the examples that I love to share because of his and mine shared love of aviation is that I had a client fly up to Seattle. He lived in San Diego where I knew him from, and he flew up to Seattle and we did a VIP weekend. He was
Hmm.
very successful in the real estate industry, but he had that in his heart, a calling to do more, but he didn't know what that was.
Hmm.
So through the weekend, we brainstormed and we worked on what that thing was. What we realized is he was a new time pilot that was going out and flying more distance and further places than the average new time pilot would. And some of the little FBOs were asking him to come in
What are
and speak
FBOs?
about it, flight board operations.
All right.
FBO.
Groups.
It's where all that it's like the non-commercial, the private pilot side of an airport will
Okay.
have a flight section. I said, well, all speakers should be authors, and all authors should be speakers. So we're going to set you up to be able to do that speaking, but we're also going to lead with a book. And I did his branding for him, and his brand is called Flying Through Life,
Uh-huh.
which became the name of his very first book. Well, that goes back about 4.5, 5 years now, and we've continued to work over the years. It's just, Flying Through Life is so big now. He is considered a thought leader in aviation. He has a second book, Zen Pilot, about one of his circumnavigation flights, and he's due to release a third one on Peace Pilot. He flew me to Africa in January to help him with a docuseries that is being filmed. It's not yet released. And when we peel it back, just like with the Land If I Can, who would ever have thought when he flew up here for that VIP day that the new vision, the new message that was created for him could be world changing?
Hmm.
Now, what's important is he's been willing to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
He's been willing to do this in collaboration with my guidance. He talks a lot about my intuition. But it's not just me. I don't do this for my clients. I bring that out in them, and then they move forward with it.
Yep. Yep. Beautiful. Good. Well, what does working with you look like? Like if someone were going, I might want to work with you, Susan. Well, what does that look like?
It can take a lot of different forms, Jeffrey, depending upon where they are in their message journey.
Hmm.
At messengersonamission.com, there's an outline there for a program that can be 6 months or 1 year called Authentic Authority. And so maybe somebody already has a book. They're already tuned in to what their message is, but they're not getting liftoff in any way with it, and they need some assistance just from the marketing standpoint. Or they are in that early stage of the client that I mentioned earlier. So working with me is a combination of coaching and services that are done for you services, as in if somebody wants assistance with self-publishing, if they want assistance with their digital marketing. My digital marketing firm is not one that is open to everybody. It's just set up to dovetail and help my existing clients, because a lot of times if they need a website, they wouldn't even know what to ask for. They wouldn't be able to direct an outsider, so to speak. And they can always go to an outsider, but when we offer it and we do it for them, everything is very congruent.
Yeah. I also get a sense that a lot of your people are kind of they have an adventurous spirit. Is that true?
I would hope so, because we all like to work with people who are like ourselves, and I'm definitely an adventurer. I've been an adventurer ever since I stepped off that curve of small town Pennsylvania and moving to Southern California and reinventing myself. And so each thing that happens, whether it's something we're choosing to do, like enter into a new venue and a new message for our work in the world, doing it with a sense of adventure In fact, that's the subtitle of The Land If I Can, is an adventure in life.
Uh-huh.
So I do think that I attract people who are similar to me.
What's something you've struggled with in life that you think has really turned out to be part of your gifts?
I think something that I struggle with that in overcoming helps other people is that voice that says, I'm not ready yet. A lot of my clients, they have a sense they want to do this, but they feel they're not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
Something else has to happen before they'll move forward. And certainly what I struggled with when I moved from small town Pennsylvania, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago, I didn't have the background, high school education. I didn't have the background for any particular career. And I thought that I would get a college education in California after establishing my residency, which was 6 months. But immediately I was offered a job selling microcomputers. And this was before the IBM PC. And my first feeling was, I'm not ready for that. I don't know anything technically. I don't have a computer science background. But my mentor at that time, the man who owned the computer shop, just showed me the basics of how it worked. And with that, I went out and started selling computers without the bits and the bytes, just by problem solving. And it overcame that I'm not ready yet.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of I'm not ready yet, or I need to have these things in place before I can be ready. Oftentimes when that happens, really what they're saying, even if they don't realize it, is I don't see the path, you know? And so working with someone like you to help create the vision, co-create the vision, here's the path. My sense is a lot of your people are far more ready than they realize. They just can't see the path. That's where someone like you comes in.
That's so astute, Jeffrey, because the man that I mentioned in the computer store, his name is Jake Satin Jacobs. And he was my mentor that said, yes, you can do this, Susan. You're ready to do this. And I'm going to show you these easy steps and then push you out the door, and you're going to go do it. Yep. And I did.
Yeah.
And I was successful. So I love being the Jake for other people.
Yeah. Last question. If there was one thing that you've learned in your journey through life and in this career that you wish everybody knew, what would it be?
That when you step into your destiny, there is so much power, the power for the good, power in releasing your full essence and the reason that you were put on this planet. And everybody should step into that. It's amazing.
Beautiful. Awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, where is there a website? Where would they go?
2 websites.
Okay.
The main one would be susangilbert.com, the one I referred to that's been out there since 2001. And there's a great video that covers the example that I used earlier of the client in Africa. And then there's messengersonamission.com. And there's a space where if anybody enters in their email right there on the home page, they'll get an immediate PDF on how to start a mission or a movement.
This has been delightful. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
You got it. We'll talk real soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.